I was struggling financially a few years ago. I spent a lot of time reading books and learning about personal finances and a lot of trial and errors. I went from being broke to seven figures net worth in the past few years. I made my fair share amount of mistakes along the way, including I didn't have a budget, I was carrying a huge student loan, I was investing in things that I didn't understand, and lost a lot of money from it. Today, I want to share with you the 10 greatest personal finance lessons that actually changed my life. So without further ado, let's dive in. Before we talk about anything, let's spend a second to think about when we talk about money. Before we can understand the rest, we need to understand that money is a psychological game. Let's talk about money for a second here. What is money? Is it the paper bill, the dollar signs in your bank account, or the stocks you're trading? You might start to realize that money is nothing more than what people create out of their minds. It's not as tangible as gold. It's a trust-based system. So what does it mean to us? It means three things in my opinion. Number one, money is abundant. It was created out of thin air from the trusted issuer, aka the government, and there's an unlimited amount out there. And number two, money is fluid. It comes and goes, so it's very, very important for us to manage our money well and keep building the wealth. The third thing, which is also the second lesson I'm going to be talking about, which is money is counterintuitive. Think about it for a moment. Wealth is the money that you don't actually spend. Someone who appears to be rich is not necessarily wealthy because you can only see their physical appearance and assets, but you cannot see their bank accounts. Most of the people don't realize these two things are. Number one, wealthy people are actually frugal. I used to make this mistake by purchasing expensive items because I thought that's all the rich people do, but in fact, wealthy people are living way below their means, so their wealth can grow over time. And in fact, not that many people are actually doing this, which leads to my second point, which is that if you want to have a different result from everybody else, you will have to do something that's very, very different from what everybody else is doing. We all know someone in our lives that's always complaining about their lives because of the economy, housing market, job market, inflation, stock market, and etc. But if we want to take control over our finances, we'll need to focus on what's in our power. Don't get me wrong, even though there's a lot of factors when it comes to wealth building, but the timeless principle is you need to focus on what's in your hands. One thing that's in our power of control, which most people don't realize, is we ultimately decide how much we make. You might think, isn't that our employer, our customer decide on this? I want to shift your mindset because we don't always get paid based on our true worth. We get paid on based on what we believe we're worth. In other words, if you believe you're underpaid at your job, go all in, have an interview and pick up a new skill and find another higher paying job. In my case, I believe that I could generate other incomes outside of my 9 to 5, so I started to put my money towards stock investing and also putting investment towards this channel. And stock investing eventually brought me another significant income, adding on to my wealth building. And I'm hoping this channel can someday get there as well. By the way, if you find anything I've spoken so far that's helpful, please make sure you subscribe and we can all get on this wealth building journey together. Speaking about our jobs and pays, have you actually thought about how much time and energy we actually spend to make money? The commute, the time we spend on getting ready and getting the right outfit and shop for those outfits and work relationship management and all those extra hours we spend on thinking about work after work. All those are life energies that we spend to make money. If you start to factor those in, you'll realize that our actual hourly rate is a lot lower than what we see in the paycheck. Now, every time when you go out and spend that money, aka your life energy, take a moment and think about how many hours it takes you to make that money and if it's worthwhile of your life energy. Which leads to my next point. My personal finance situation wasn't changing until I realized this. Those financial micro habits matters a lot. Here's how I define financial micro habits. There are small day-to-day decisions that you have to make and they are really adding up over time. For example, buying a cup of coffee and eating out, purchase the items you don't actually need, and getting into credit card debt. Those seemingly small decisions compound over time time. And think about personal finance like eating habits. If you eat a donut once in a while, it might seem not too big of a deal, but if you have a donut, ice cream, and some fried food and chips, and all those add up over time. If you want to get healthier, we need to start paying attention to what we put into our body, and personal finance habits works in the same way. Those micro habits have some compounding effect over time, and they will add up over time. When it comes to compounding, we all want to invest and have our money generate wealth and grow over time. But there is one critical mistake that most of beginner investors makes, including myself when I first started with investing, that is investing in things that I don't fully understand. Maybe you heard your friend mention about certain stocks or cryptocurrencies and you started buying based on their recommendations without even looking into it yourself. After I lost a lot of money on doing that, I made a principle for myself, only investing in things that I fully understand. I do a lot of research, financial modeling before I decided to put my hard-earned money towards anything. If you are curious about how I evaluate a stock and the business, I'll put a card here. My investment methodology has evolved over time. Initially, I was looking for advices online from YouTube and even Wall Street Bets and seeing those YOLO trades, and I personally even tried a few. Obviously, it didn't work out well. Then I started to realize something, that if I want to learn about investing, why don't I learn from the best of our time? For example, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Ray Dalio, and etc. etc. I spent a lot of times reading books about their investment philosophy and studied their success cases of their investments that helped me to formulate my own strategy by taking the advices from the best of the best. And if you study the investments from Berkshire Hathaway, which is the fund that Warren Buffett manages, you will start to realize that investing is very, very boring and a lot less exciting than what you would thought. Warren Buffett will hold a single stock for years and years until there's a solid reason to not do so. His famous quote is that his favorite holding period is forever. If you found something that's really, really good and you want to hold it for a very long period of time, and if there's nothing better on the market to purchase and there's no real reason to switch, successful investors like Warren Buffett are actually doing way less trading than what you would think. Most of the time, they are sitting on a large chunk of cash and waiting for opportunities. So be patient with your investments and pick the best value companies that you can find, and then just wait for the opportunities to come to your way. One thing that I really like about this approach is it actually reduces a lot of stress and anxiety about investing. When we hold on to something that we fully understand and fully comfortable with, and we can ignore the short-term market fluctuation, and we can get a sense of mental peace, which is very, very hard in this day and age. To me, that is part of self-care. Similarly, if you have a solid emergency fund and enough money that's set aside to cover bills for each month, regularly investing in your retirement plans, and having a separate fund that you can enjoy the things that you truly enjoy, to me, that is self-care. Personal care is not bubble baths, not shopping, not binge eating, not beauty. Personal finance is the true self-care to me. So those are the 10 key personal finance lessons that actually changed my life. If you want to know how I actually applied these principles in action, I have a separate video that talks about my journey from broke to 7 figures. And I'll put the card here, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.